Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Hey, welcome to episode 70 of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast. I'm excited to be your guide through the motorsports sponsorship jungle, and I have a vision with this whole show, and it's that people of different disciplines in the motorsports industry can learn things from each other about sponsorship. So if you're a supercross racer or arena cross or ATV, NHRA, whatever it is, I hope that you can learn something from different guests in this show. Now, the guest we have today is Scott Spero. He's a backcountry rider and also host of a Facebook Live show called #Driven. Super pumped to get Scott on the show. He actually helped me get my Facebook Live going, and we actually get in some pretty detailed tips later on. Other things, though, he used to ride rodeo, so we talk about rodeo as well, and that has a whole sponsorship element to it as well. So cool stuff. Now, before I get into the structure and the interview with Scott, there's a couple things I want to cover with you. So first off, I would love to get your feedback on iTunes, so go ahead and head over there, leave a rating or review. That would be phenomenal. I've been reading the reviews on this show, and the next one I'm going to read is from BJ Kemper, and he gave a 5-star rating, said, amazing. I've listened to just a few episodes so far, but I've already gained massive amounts of tools, resources, and great advice. This podcast is super well done, and I can't wait to listen to more. So I appreciate BJ Kemper for going on iTunes and leaving that feedback. Whatever podcast player you use, go ahead and subscribe. That way you don't miss upcoming guests. It also, go back and listen to our previous episode. We had Kyle Pauline on from Team of the Valley, awesome snowcross racer, and even a better interviewer. He did phenomenal, crushed it on the show. It was a really fun conversation, so check that out. That was episode 69. Also, head over to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast Facebook page. That's where we do our live shows at. We do them on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Our next one is scheduled for April 16th of 2018, and that's featuring Sarah Price. We got George Hamill coming on the following Monday. Now, this show is brought to you by 5 awesome companies. SolderWeld, they produce game-changing metal bonding technology. TopThePodium.com, they're experts in motorsports sponsorship. Bold Racing and Suspension, they're a family race team and custom suspension experts. Armor Coat, they make products that make your cleanup easier. And then Crash Addict Industries, they create extreme metal fabrication and safety products. I also want to give a quick shout out to some of our other project sponsors, including MBRP, HMK, Studboy Traction, and One Stop Performance. Now, the structure of this podcast is set up like a race. We'll begin with the qualifier, which is a basic introduction. In Heat 1, we'll dive into Scott's background. In Heat 2, we'll talk about sponsorship tactics and strategies. And we do, in the main event, get into some really good stuff around mindset. We'll end at the finish line. We'll get closing comments and contact information for Scott. Without further ado, let's hop in. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast. Today, I'm joined by our featured guest, Scott Spero. And Scott, why don't you fill in some of the gaps for that intro, though, and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first, man, thank you. I'm super honored, number one, to be on your podcast here. I really think what you're doing for your community within the sponsorship, sponsoree platform, it really exceeds that. So that fires me up because this stuff is applicable not only to your sponsorship program, but you can use this stuff in your life, in your relationships. If you're into business, you can use it into that. And I think you provide a ton of value in that. So thank you a ton for letting me be able to come on here and, number one, share my story. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm pumped to have you here, man. We talked a little bit in pre-interview about this, but I like to bring content creators on here and people in the motorsports world. And also, if you've noticed in any of my shows, I get into mindset, and I feel like you live and breathe mindset. So, I mean, that's a big reason why I wanted you on here to talk about that. And also just some of the cool things you're doing out there in the world. So.
Appreciate it as well. Like you said, my name's Scott Spero. I grew up in Nevada. I was a ranch-raised kid. Grew up doing all kinds of motorsports and different things. I rode dirt bikes. I grew up on top of a snowmobile in the winters. And growing up, I really focused on rodeo and pursuing that passion. So most of my life has been dedicated to the pursuit of my dreams into rodeo. And I don't know, I'd say about 14 or 15, I was like, man, I'd really enjoy to ride a snowmobile most of the time, but I was so dedicated to one thing, it always took a back burner. It always took a backseat to what I was working on. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, I went all in, got a sled, got the gear, and started putting the time in and putting the work in, and just fell head over feet into, in love with the backcountry snowmobile scene and the people, the community in it. And I'm just doing everything I can at this point to learn more about the industry, learn more about the community, and then try to provide some value in my own unique way. So here it is.
Yeah, that's cool, man. You made a comment to me via Facebook Messenger that was pretty funny. I just wanted to share with folks. You were like, oh, what'd I say? I said, oh yeah, you'd be good for this podcast. You're like, yeah, I used to ride wild animals. This is just talking. And that's the truth, man. That's the truth.
A funny thing about that is I was in a golf tournament. I'd picked up golf, I don't know, when I was younger, but I started taking it serious a little while ago. And I was entered in my first tournament, and I'm standing there on the tee box with my buddy, and he's like, are you nervous, man? And I looked at him, and I'm like, dude, it's golf. I used to ride wild animals for a living. So I've used that one or two times. But, it really prepared me for a lot of things I take on in my life, whether it be in my job, my personal life, or whatever. The mindset to go in day and day out and perform in an arena, riding bareback horses. It's often referred to as the most physically demanding sport on the planet, and I can attest to it. But the mindset I use to take on that role, it applies across all areas of my life. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to do that for so long, but definitely. I'm looking forward to my journey going forward for sure.
So would you say you were a sponsored rider when you rode wild animals?
I was a sponsored rider when I rode wild animals.
New market, man, untouched. You gotta get in the rodeo world. Well, that's cool, man. What I want to do next is dive deeper into that background in Heat 1. I want to understand a little bit more about that transition into, I guess, honestly, I kind of want to dive deeper. I wasn't expecting to go there with this one, but I kind of want to dig a little bit deeper now that I got the rodeo guy on here, and we talk about the sponsorship that you learned there. So I might want to dive deeper into that. So I want to know, I guess, more in that rodeo story. And then the transition now into the social media world. So maybe it's probably two separate conversations there, but maybe walk us through the rodeo adventure a little bit, and then walk us through the social media adventure.
Well, when I was rodeoing and pursuing that, social media wasn't a thing. I got a cell phone about halfway through my rodeo career, so I was traveling across the United States with no phone, no internet, no social media, and nobody knew where I was. And a lot of times it would have been very useful to have social media now that I know how to utilize it and what I can do with it. Just the ability to reach out to people instantly and ask them a question, ask them directions, find out where the arena even is in the town that I've never been to. It would have saved me, and I'll touch on this later, it would have saved me hours, days, years in my process. And that's why I truly believe that social media is a blessing if you use it the right way. It can accelerate your learning curve, your process, and your journey tenfold if you utilize it the right way.
Yeah, that's huge. My wife and I were talking about the whole social media thing a couple weeks ago because, like you said, it can be horrible too if it's used improperly. And I was saying something like, man, I love social media. And she's like, well, yeah, but you use it as if it's a tool. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I do view social media as a tool. I feel like I can reach people that I never would have imagined reaching. I mean, you and I right now talking, this would not have happened without social media. So for me, it's unlocked access to people that I would have never, I wouldn't have even known about, honestly. I wouldn't be doing this podcast without social media. So
absolutely,
it's pretty wild.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, that's cool, man. So what made you want to be a rodeo rider? I mean, it sounds like in where you grew up, that was probably a popular thing too, but I mean, why did you actually do it?
Aside from, family influences that have done it, dude, it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I had never experienced anything like it. I grew up, we'd brand calves and ride horses and do that sort of thing. But, the first bucking horse I got on, I was 12, pretty young, but I got thrown in the dirt about 1 second into it, and I knew right away that nothing would give me that feeling, and I pursued it relentlessly for about 15 years after that.
Nice.
So,
nice.
The pure enjoyment of it.
That's a long time, man. Getting whipped off of wild animals.
It is,
years.
but it provided me, and a lot of what this show's based off of, it provided me an outlet to experience life, unlike a lot of people get to, traveling around the country, seeing every part of it, build relationships with people all over the United States and beyond, and make memories and gather stories that I'll take with me forever. And so I'm extremely thankful for my time inside the arena and what it was able to provide me.
That's awesome, man. So at some point you're like, I'm switching over to snowmobiles, that 3-4 years ago, whatever it is. And now you've been doing that for a little while. So what made you say, yeah, I'm not just going to do snowmobiles, but I'm also going to do inspirational videos around people who like and love snowmobiles? I mean, how did you make that transition?
Well, I mean, the snowmobile factor, it's been part of my life forever. I had a kitty cat when I was 2 years old, and I had the 340, and then I got a SS 440, and then I rode a phaser, and then I started borrowing sleds, and then when I really dove into the arena, I kind of let it take a back burner, and all along, I mean, it was on my mind. I'm like, man, I would like to be able to ride in the winter and like rodeo the other 2/3 of the year, and I'm like, that would be the ideal setup, but that's a little challenge. You're banking your your ability to generate income on your ability to win in the arena.
Yep.
So I took the route that I started using my education. I took the route that you're supposed to take, and I got the career, I got the job, and the whole time I have this, this burning desire inside me to be able to ride and be in the backcountry. Because I mean, I shared so many great memories with like my grandpa, my cousins, my mom. Everybody rode snowmobiles in my family. And I constantly had that thought in my mind to be able to do it. I'm like, what would it take to be able to do it?
Right.
So I went and got the job, I got the career, and then I was like, well, I got to buy a house first. I got to have this first. I got to get that first. And there was a pretty big event in my life that kind of changed a lot of things. And I sat down and I said, what is important to me? And number one, it was to be the best person that I could be and try to develop myself to where no matter what arena I chose to go into, I could make an impact in it in my own way. And then the other thing was, man, I got to ride more. Yeah. That was the biggest thing. And I'm like, okay, if I can be the best person I can be, I know that my life will be taken care of, my son will be taken care of, and my future will be taken care of. So that checks that box. And then now I got to figure out a way, okay, how can I ride more and balance work, balance life, and give myself to snowmobile and like I want to try to give. And I just made the decision to do it, and through social media, it is giving me a platform. People can hear my voice, hear my thoughts, and I can share the process of going from, here's my shiny new snowmobile, now go show people who you are.
No, that's good stuff, man. And I feel like everybody at some point in their life goes through that same process of like, well, no, I got to do this because that's what I'm supposed to do. And then, definitely the next step on the list of things that you're supposed to do is this, the house or the kid or whatever it is. And but everybody has their own thing, and there's nothing wrong with that either. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing those things. And I think that's the most important thing to remember is there's nothing wrong if you do the job, if you're the corporate soldier, if you're the entrepreneur, if you're the solo rider, if you're whatever. There's nothing wrong with any of it, just as long as you're happy. Like it doesn't
That's where
matter.
it's at. It's the inner happiness, and it's the ability to wake up in the morning and be like, yes, I'm blessed today. I'm grateful for the day, and I can go about my day in a positive way because I'm living true to myself and true to my vision. It comes a lot easier versus trying to fight your way through your day. And, you don't want to wake up at that time. You don't want to go, maybe do whatever it is you have to do that day. You're going to be bringing yourself down every single day. And then that one day, maybe it turns into 2 bad days or 3 bad days. And the next thing you know, 2, 3, 5, 10 years of your life passes by. And you're like, what happened? Where did I live? And how did I make my impact? And, we all go through it and we've all done it. I'm dead set on the ability anybody can make a decision at any point in their life to learn something new and take on a new challenge. And I'm sharing my process, and in the journey across that, I hope, reach out to one person and be like, hey man, I don't care where you come from. I don't care what got you here. You deciding right now to go do the things you want to do is the first step, and that's all it takes.
Right.
And then a lot of hard work and time.
Right. No, that's awesome stuff, man. I feel like I could dive really deep in the rabbit hole on this one, but we might have to save that for another episode because
I hear you.
You're tugging at my heartstrings, man, because I will get into this flow, and we might never climb back out. But what I want to do next is actually go to Heat 2 and talk about sponsorship tactics and strategies. But right before that, I want to take a quick minute to thank the sponsors for this podcast. I am constantly asking the guests of this podcast how they attract and retain sponsors. And on almost every single occasion, somebody gives an example of a resume. A rider or a racer resume is extremely important to your overall sponsorship pitch and proposal. And it's tough to do. I mean, it's not really the easiest thing. Anybody can go through and put together a resume, so don't get me wrong there, but it's really difficult to get something that's like unique and different and stands out, and then also is something that can be put across multiple platforms. Well, that's one of the things that I want to talk to you about next is how topthepodium.com can actually help you build a race or rider resume that can be used on multiple platforms. I'm talking like website, PDF, something you can print off that's interactive, that looks fantastic. It looks absolutely professional. Well, that's because it's made by a professional. This is the type of thing that's going to set you apart from the crowd, and that's going to position you for a strong sponsorship proposal. So what I want you to do next is go to topthepodium.com, and if you have a question, there's a little chat icon that pops up on the side of the screen when you go to topthepodium.com, and you can go ahead and type your question right there. Jeff Vanestal, he is the owner of Top the Podium. He's going to be able to respond to you directly, so check it out. I don't know about you, but I absolutely can't stand cleaning the mud, filth, grime, goo, garbage off my machines after I go for a ride. It's just frustrating. It takes a lot of time. That's why I'm going to talk to you about Armor Coat next. Armor Coat is designed to help prevent mud, clay, ice, and other grime from sticking to your machine. It makes the cleanup quick and easy. It makes the machine actually look fantastic, and beyond that, it smells phenomenal. I don't know how to describe it, like bubble gum or something like that. It smells great. If you want to know more about Armor Coat, visit armorcoatproducts.com, and you will see their entire product line, all the offerings. Armor Coat is also working on some new stuff. They're soon going to release a solution made for coating the helmet and visor, and also one for wheels to help prevent mud buildup for high temp areas. So make your move now. Go to armorcoatproducts.com. Make a decision that's going to allow you to shorten the amount of time that you spend cleaning so that you can increase the amount of time that you spend riding and racing. I hear it constantly from racers that a good suspension setup is absolutely critical for performance, and that's why I'm going to talk to you next about bold racing and suspension. Now, it's really critical to understand your suspension, and there's so many intricacies with the valving and the shims and all this crazy equipment that you need to actually, rebuild and properly set up your suspension, that it's really important if you're ready for that next level of performance to partner with an awesome suspension company. Now, Bold Racing is that company. They're not only specialists with their suspension setups, but they also partner with companies that produce amazing custom components. And on top of that, they're a family race team. They actually race themselves, so they really understand the type of beating that your vehicle and your shocks can take. So what I want you to do is give them a call and just chat with them. Talk to them about suspension. Their number is 702-506-5354. If you're not ready for a phone call, go ahead and shoot them an email, bold.racing@yahoo.com. Have you ever been out on the trail or at the track or in the middle of the desert and something breaks? Well, of course you have. We've all been there. But a lot of people at that point, they reach into their trusty toolbox for the duct tape or the zip ties or wrenches to fix their machine. However, there's a feeling that you get when you realize you need more than just duct tape to fix that rock chip in your radiator. That's a horrible, horrible feeling to have. And that's why I'm going to tell you next about SolderWeld's metal bonding products, specifically alloy sol. So this product gives you a longer term fix than JB Weld, which is just going to get you back to the trailer or back to the pits. With basically the assistance of MAP gas or propane torch, you can quickly and easily repair an oil cooler, radiator, AC line, or any crack or hole in aluminum. And better yet, alloy sol flux is the only flux in industry that cleans and decontaminates the dirty and greasy surface for you. So you don't even have to worry about that part. The alloy sol rods are actually capable of a 30,000 psi fix, and they're stronger than even the parent metal, and they're built to last the lifetime of the part. So don't let a simple radiator leak leave you out of the race or broken down in the trail. Bring along some alloy sol aluminum alloy repair rod and flux from SolderWeld. Safety is our overriding priority. I hear it all the time, but I have to ask myself, is it though? Is that the first thing we think of? Is that the first thing you think of? Over the past couple of years, we've seen the performance of production UTVs increase, somewhere around 350%. That means these machines give us a lot more opportunity to have fun and win races, but it also, unfortunately, gives us new opportunities to crash. And that's why we have partnered with Crash Addict Industries. The owner, Travis Pointer, became very accustomed to crashing early in his career. He saw it as inevitable, and he set out to make the process safer. With a passion for racing, welding, and engineering, Crash Addict Industries now produces full cage and other protection systems intentionally designed to protect you during an accident on the track. They also offer a line of human protection products through their vendors. Do this for me at this point. If you're racing with a stock cage right now, please go check out crashaddict.com and at least see what they have to offer. Even if you choose to go with a different company, please, please, please make safety your overriding priority. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are now in Heat 2, and I think Scott and I are going to continue to get pretty deep on this one. So we're going to go through a couple of questions here, and then we're going to continue to pull out some of these things that we started talking about in Heat 1. But first off, Scott, who are some of the people that you're partnering with right now?
Directly partnered with, I'm currently developing my sponsorship program, but early on, somebody reached out to me, and they've really been basically mentoring me and kind of helping me through my process. And what's funny is they're not, an expert in social media. They're not an expert in the arena of content production. They're really a successful person in life, and that's kind of what drew me to him, and I think that's what drew him to me. But he's really been helping me out. His name's John Farian. He's up in the Pacific Northwest, and he does a lot of work. So I want to give a huge shout out to him for everything he's poured into me recently. But also with that, since I've got on social media and I started doing my Facebook Lives, I've been able to meet Justin Hill from Jack's Motorsports, and we're kind of partnering together. We're both starting a thing up and just trying to get in early with them. My My cousin, he owns Stony Basin Landscape, and I wouldn't say he's a direct sponsorship, but when we roll on sled trips together, he pays for a lot more than I do, so I'm definitely going to attribute him to my sponsorship program.
Does he want to come out to Michigan, and I'll take him on some rides? He's just got to cover gas and, food and lodging. That's fine.
And bring his
trip out here.
Trailer, put some gutters up, do some curbs, do some sprinkler systems. You bet he would love to.
So you might not know this, but my first ever sponsor and someone who continues to support me is my dad. He has a lawn care and landscape company too. He didn't even know. I still don't even know if he knows what I do. But he's like, whatever. Just you need some money here. Like, do your social media thing. I don't know what you do. Just do it. And
love it.
But yeah, that's what got me started. Honestly, well, that's cool, man. Tell me about Tracked Out, man. I see you wearing Tracked Out shirts all the time. So people don't know this because this is audio only, but like we're on video feed right now, and every time I see you got something Tracked Out going on. I mean, tell me about Tracked Out.
Tracked Out is 100% thanks to social media. So when I started really utilizing social media versus just, hey mom, here's some pictures of my kid, versus to here's some content. Is this of value to you? I come across the Tracked Out crew. There's quite a few of them involved in it, but DJ Osborne, Kyle Tate, it's their company. They're out of Utah. They provide backcountry access, be it snowmobile rentals. They just added dirt bikes to their fleet this year, and they have a side-by-side program they use too. And I attached myself to DJ. I started relating to him, just some of the stuff he was putting out on social media about, like I was saying, your life headed down one path, and it wasn't the path that you've seen yourself going down. So he just took major action, got a group of people together, and developed this Tracked Out, and it just represents, the way he told it to me, it just represents your crew and your passion and being in your environment together. Interacted him on with social media, and we support each other, help each other where we can, and I love wearing their gear. So nothing formal. I just like their brand.
No, that's awesome, man. You'll probably see some similar relationships with me. Thomas Affeld of Sledders R Us. He's been on the live show. He's been on the podcast. But even before that, for like a year or so, he was. For no reason, he would promote my content. He liked what I was doing, and we talk on the phone sometimes just for the heck of it. So yeah, I would view that as one of my partners. Yeah, there's no formal relationship there, but he's an awesome guy, and I really like working with him. And that's it.
It's social networking. It's supporting each other in your projects, and it takes the simple act of a share, a like, or a comment. So many people pass right over that, but the value in it is it increases your, it makes you feel good about the content you're putting out, but it increases your reach. It increases the people that see your stuff. And if you can co-support each other in any form, in any way, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Like and share with care.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Well, I kind of want to pull out some examples from maybe it's social media a little bit, and I'd also be interested to go back to, if you can remember in the rodeo days, about contacting a sponsor, whether it's successful or not successful. I want to kind of pull some of those examples out from you. So maybe walk us through one or two of those.
I actually have a great story. The first time that I reached out for a sponsorship ask, it was within my local community. I'll never forget them. They were two great people. They own the casinos in Winnemucca, Nevada.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to Red Lion Casino and the Winners Casino. But
there you go.
I was young. I didn't have much guidance or instruction. I didn't know any sponsored people really. I think I was about 19. And I was just turning professional, and I made up this awesome picture, put my name on it. I think I used Microsoft pick art or
Oh.
whatever it was back then. And
Paint, was it Paint? Microsoft
yeah,
Paint?
it was Paint. That's exactly what it was.
It's a classic.
So, and I just went in and I booked a meeting with him and I sat down and I started telling him what I wanted to do, where I was going, and asked him for some help. So it took a little time, but they agreed. They set me up with a little sponsorship package, and about, I would say 3 months later, I was looking at the pictures I passed out to him, and I spelled rider wrong.
Oh man.
And I still have the poster to this day, and I look at it and I laugh. But I mean, I didn't know, I didn't see it, the font I used, but there was an extra letter in there, and I still laugh at it to this day. I don't even know if they ever noticed it or not.
Oh man, I have a story there too. I think I actually may have shared this on one other episode in the past, but when I first was putting together the podcast, I ran an Indiegogo campaign to raise some funds because I didn't have a computer, I didn't have a microphone, I didn't have anything.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I didn't have anything. I was like, I'll run a Indiegogo campaign and see what we can do with this. And I had this great artwork that I put together. I don't know if it was really great, but I thought it was great at the time. Put it together. I had T-shirts and stuff, and I was ready to roll. And I had this published. I actually had some funding behind it. It was probably like, I don't know, several days in, and one of my friends who was checking it out to support it sent me a message, and it was the picture, just a picture in a text message. And I was like, yeah, that's mine. Why are you sending me this? They're like, you don't see something wrong here? And I was like, no, I don't see anything wrong. Well, I spelled sponsored wrong. I forgot the second S. So it said Sponsored Rider Club Podcast. And I didn't have that many. I had like 2 or 3 T-shirts made already with that same artwork. I had it plastered on this Indiegogo, and I'd already started some social media stuff, and I don't know how I did this, but I had it everywhere. So of course, like that night, I'm trying to go through and fix everything, and but I kept the shirt. I still have that shirt.
Outstanding.
I think I have one shirt that I just kept just as a quick reminder. I actually wrote a blog post later on it. Make sure you spell sponsor right when you send out your proposals. But I didn't say in that blog post of why I think that's important. I just think it is.
I absolutely love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, we all start from somewhere, and I said last night on Driven, I was, when you start something, you're never good at it. You, as much as you can prepare and want to be good at it, if it's new and it's out of your comfort zone and you're starting it, you're probably going to mess it up. So the mindset of embracing it and embracing that journey into that's where I've got a lot from in this new position that I'm currently in, is embrace that with humility and let people know it's like, hey, this is my first time reaching out. I don't want to fumble it up. I don't want to seem like, I'm imposing too much or asking too much, but I'm new at it. I think there's value in it.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I listen to John Lee Dumas. He's a host of Entrepreneur on Fire, and he does a daily podcast. So he's right around episode 2000 right now.
Wow.
And he said basically, if the 20 whatever, I don't know what year he started, 2015 or 2014. If the 2014 John Lee Dumas tried to launch this podcast today, it would fail. He's like, it's a different time, and I wasn't good. He said, I was horrible. Go back and listen to my first episodes. He's like, I was absolutely horrible. And it was a different time. So you can't just duplicate me, was one thing he was trying to say, but he was also trying to say, you just have to start.
Yep.
And it's not going to be perfect, and you're probably going to be embarrassed to an extent, but that's okay. Like, just get it out there and see what happens.
Grow through it.
Right. Well, what I think I want to do next is dive into the social media piece some. You have been getting into this Facebook Live. You honestly inspired, I think, at least 2 other people to get into Facebook Live in this industry, and that's Jake Coleman with the Dirty Dooner podcast, and then myself, who followed after that. And it's a cool venue. At this point, at the time of this recording, it is March 22nd, 2018. I've done 2 episodes now, 3 episodes now, and it's a blast. But in the past, we were on the show, and I could not find somebody that was comfortable with live videos. Like, they tinkered with them, they do them here and there, but nobody had a strategy or a structure or a purpose behind it until now. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about with your social media strategy too. So, but I'll let you take over from here. What is your strategy on social media? What are some of the things that you do?
Be real and be authentic. We'll touch back on starting something, but if you can share your weaknesses and you can share your process into whatever you want to start with an audience, not only are you going to grow in the process, but they're going to see you growing, and that's going to create a connection and create a relationship that is basically irreplaceable because, they'll see you in your uncomfortable moments. There's times where I'm on Facebook Live where, my mind goes basically numb and I don't even hear myself talking, and I'm like, wait a minute, what am I saying?
Yeah.
And then I'll start thinking, I'm like, well, all these people are listening to me say this, and letting that go and letting that guard down and just being real, it makes it a lot easier. If you come out and you try to basically present yourself at one way, it's going to show itself. If you want to last any number of shows or any number of time on social media, you can only be one way, really. And so if you try to portray another aspect of it, it becomes very difficult, and people see right through it. So I try to be as real and authentic as I can, and as forthcoming with my journey and sharing my message and my content with people. It's coming from somebody that's messed up, that's, just starting, that's failed at some stuff before, but also my persistence, my work ethic, and my ability to learn is the biggest thing I want to share with that is, you get better if you keep doing this activity. So that's what I try to put out there.
No, that's cool, man. Oh, have you done 16 episodes now of Driven?
I've done 16 official. I did 10. I called them the .0 series. So I started at 0.1 because I knew.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I knew I had some growing to do, and I really honestly didn't even know what direction I was going to take. I'd talked to somebody. He fired me up, and what he told me, man, is he goes, just press play, and your audience is going to help you decide on what avenue you take. His name's Lawrence Thompson. Check him out on social media.
Lawrence Thompson he's inspiring, man. You got to watch one of his videos that he gets you pumped up.
I love that guy. Yeah. He's serving over in the Middle East right now. So thank you for your service, Lawrence. I appreciate that. But yeah, he's just like, man, just press play and your audience will A, come to you, and B, it'll help you decide what direction you take it. So I've done 16 official episodes with the Driven Mindset and that platform, but I'm at 25 officially on Facebook Live. So
that's awesome, man. That's a lot. And, you helped coach me through getting things started. And I think you even gave me the same advice. Like, just do it, man. Let the audience decide. Cause I think I probably petered around back and forth for at least a month, if not more than that. That doesn't seem like maybe a long time, but it felt like forever to me.
It was probably on your mind every day.
It was, man. I was like, I'm missing something. I need to do something with this Facebook Live thing. I even talked about it in the show. I was like, I need to do something. And I just stopped. I just didn't do anything. It must have been longer than that. I think it was a month from the time where I decided I was going to do it to the time I actually did it. But I feel like I've been thinking about it for maybe close to a year. I don't know, but yeah, you gave me some advice, like just do something. And then I still needed to plan a little bit. Like for people who don't know, I always have an outline for every show, and same with the live version. I always have an outline. I have to have a little bit of structure there, but then I kind of, that's just to get me confident, and then I throw it to the wayside. I lose track of structure, but
I know what you mean there. There's a lot of people that get on Facebook Live and just straight throw it, no script,
right.
No whatever. Maybe they come on with a plan. I feel like they're very gifted to be able to do that because I lose my train of thought. I've figured out for me personally, preparation definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
Having a guideline, having key points that you want to hit.
Yep.
Let the conversation flow naturally, but have a game plan and have something to revert back to. Like you said, like you get completely down a rabbit hole, have something to pull yourself back in, and that'll keep your audience engaged. It'll keep people coming back if you can have that consistent sort of, they know what they're going to expect, and they know what they're going to get when they tune in daily, weekly, monthly, whatever you do.
Right.
But I always got to prepare something so I know where I'm headed.
Definitely. And for people listening right now, the reason why I'm talking a lot more about Facebook Live right now and why Scott's here talking about it is Facebook puts a priority on the live videos. They send push notifications. Mark Zuckerberg, of Facebook, he's made it very clear that he thinks the future of Facebook or the internet is video, and he's in live is a big part of that. So if you're looking for ways to get more engagement, more exposure on social media, this is one of those ways. So that's why we're spending so much time talking about it. If there's something you want to talk about or something you want to say, or even if you're at an event, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but figure out a way, I think, to test this whole Facebook Live thing out and see if you can drive some more exposure for yourself and for your sponsors in the process.
A lot of people, I hear it constantly, say Facebook is dead. Mm-hmm. You hear everybody say that. I believe completely the opposite. I believe Facebook is evolving, and it had people's attention for about 4 or 5 years and had everybody's attention. And these I don't call them little, but these other platforms came up like Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter. But those platforms are for that audience. There's like 2 billion people on Facebook. There's not that many on Instagram, Snapchat and Twitter constantly engaging. So you have access to reach essentially 2 billion people with the click of one button that says go live. Mm-hmm. And the power in that, when used correctly and when you're delivering either a good message, a good story, a great event, whatever you're, going live in, if it's something people want to see, you have the ability to reach anybody in the world. And then on top of that, you combine the Facebook Live with, a business page or an athlete page or something to that extent. Now you have the ability not only to capture people's attention with your Facebook Live, with real content, because that's what people want to see. They want to see you really. They don't, they might like your highlight reel pictures, but if you're a brand, you're a writer, you're an up-and-coming writer, you're an established writer, people want to see you. They want to see, quote-unquote, behind the helmet. They want to see your process, your journey, and Facebook Live is hands down the best way to do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You tie that to a Facebook page where you can boost target audiences and basically put your message, your content, your service, your product, your race results, your sponsorship program right into somebody's lap. Yes, it costs money to do that, but nowhere is it as cost effective as it is with Facebook Live.
Yeah, that's true. I know, I've only done 3 episodes now, and every one of those episodes produces at least 10 times the amount of engagement of a normal post. I mean, there's more effort that goes into it, but I can put one of those out there and have, like I said, at least 10 times more engagement. Looking at, I follow the Dirty Dooner show pretty closely, and people listening to this actually would probably enjoy that show too. But I mean, when he started doing his videos too, he's getting maybe 20 times the engagement of what his standard posts were, and that's tough to turn down, right? That's tough to not do.
And on top of it, it brings more attention to your static posts or your picture posts or your non-live posts, because so many more people engage into your Facebook Live that you might not even have been showing up on their news feed at all.
Right.
And then they come drop a like or a comment or something on your live because they see you talking. They're like, what's he up to?
Right.
They drop one like on your comment. Maybe your next static post shows up in their news feed that they never would have saw. And now you have, a new member of your community basically just because you went live and drew their attention into you.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty huge. So I want to go into another comment, because I think now I want to get into some weeds here, because I know you've given a lot of really specific recommendations to me as well. But isn't there a difference too in what like button is pressed? Like, doesn't Facebook say like, hey, a different button means more than another one?
Absolutely. So like, it's easy to drop a like because it's the first option, and Facebook puts a priority because it kind of goes into the algorithm, and I don't want to get all social media nerdy out on people, but that algorithm basically decides who sees your content and who doesn't. And if you're, just scrolling through your Facebook, liking, and not spending any time either stopped on their post, reading it because it's keeping track of screen time, or basically your eye time on that picture, or reading the actual content. So if you take the time to pause on a post, your algorithm is going to change a little bit to where you're going to see more of their content. But on top of that, if you take a minute, hold it down, and slide over and select, one of the different buttons, whether it be a heart or an angry face or laughy or whatever, it notices that post gathered some more engagement than a typical like and a scroll would have done. So it's going to show it to more people, and that's basically the starting formula for a video to go viral, or to some of your posts. You're like, that was a great post. It only got 5 likes and nobody even looked at it. So it plays a lot of roles, and then you combine the power of, say, a Facebook Live, where now you can boost your engagement with a heart, a happy face, or whatever. On top of that, you can track how many people see it. So, you put a static picture of you up, you don't know how many people looked at it. If they didn't spend any time to drop a like on it, it ain't going to amount to anything. But if you got a Facebook Live and they pause on it, they don't click it, they don't touch it, they don't do anything, but they're there for 2 or 3 seconds watching you do whatever you do, you're going to see a view come on to, the total views for that video, and it'll help you track the metrics of what you're doing and if what you're putting out is successful. So there's a huge benefit, yes, to the heart button. Facebook puts more value on that, and there's also a huge benefit to doing video content, which we circle back around to.
Definitely. One of the things that, while you were talking, I don't know if I had really thought about this before, but I definitely used to think about with my sponsors, when I see their post, I like it. I make sure I engage with my sponsor post, but I never really thought like, well, maybe I should go in and do the heart, right? Because you're doing the same thing for them. You're giving them a little bit more priority. Because another thing the Facebook algorithm does, and the Instagram one's the same way, is if it sees, it will show the post to the people who always see your posts. And if they engage with it, then it shows it to more people. If they don't, it shows it to less. So if someone that you typically follow their content comes up, let's say it's one of your sponsors, and you don't hit like, there is now potential that you've impacted the engagement of that post. Like you could have accidentally made that post less successful because it might have taken away another 0.1% of the people that are actually going to see it, which, Yeah, it might be getting a little nerdy at that point, but that is what happens, and it's crazy, honestly.
Facebook is an amazing platform. What they've figured out to create and draw this much attention to, it's never been accomplished before.
Mm-hmm.
TV and radio, yes, captivated a pretty big audience, but you can't take a TV with you every single place you go. You can't take, the radio. It's evolved a little bit, but when it was new, you couldn't take a radio anywhere.
Right.
Technology advancements, Facebook has figured out a way to captivate people's attention in a world of short attention spans.
Right.
Everywhere they go. So I've often referred to this. I don't care if you have a business, a sponsorship program, maybe a cause, a nonprofit, whatever it may be. Right now in this moment, it's untapped. It's basically a new market, and the people that can capture the most attention will win.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear Gary Vee, you hear a lot of people say that, and I listen to it and I listen to it and I listen to it, but until I put it into motion and started seeing it for myself, it is an unbelievable tool. Again, if utilized correctly. It's an unbelievable tool to capture people's attention, and it's useful if you want to grow anything.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. Let's go into a couple of other questions around how you actually put together a Facebook Live and what are some tips. I've got some things in my head. I want to see where your thoughts at though. So what I'm thinking is like, what are the things that you do as part of a Facebook Live that help drive the engagement during the experience? Because there's a number of things that you do. If you don't know off the top of your head, I can definitely start throwing them in there. But what are some of the things you do to capture some of that engagement for a live video?
I don't know. I would say let's start at the beginning, assuming somebody's new and they're wanting to include Facebook Lives within their sponsorship program, and they've never done that type of thing, aside from being an activity or a race and pushing the live button to show your friends where you're at or whatever. Creating a content-based Facebook Live show, which is essentially what I've done with Driven, is my own personal content, trying to provide value to my audience. And the number one important thing is bring value to that live. You have got to have you got to make a deposit into your audience before you start asking them for the likes, asking them for the shares, asking them to comment, asking them to get on the live with you.
Right.
You've got to make a deposit into them, and that starts at the very beginning of your Facebook Live. So if you're going to go solo, which I don't recommend. I mean, it's too easy to invite a friend up there. It gets a lot more comfortable. But if you are going to do a solo Facebook Live, content-based, whether you race results, tell a story about your weekend at the races, it could take 5 minutes. You go Facebook Live, you thank your sponsors, you tell them a little story about something you experienced, learned, or enjoyed about the weekend, and maybe how the sponsorship package helped you. Number one, first thing you want to do is capture people's attention, and it starts with setting up your post. Maybe ask a question on the first line, something to spark the listener's mind to be like, okay, I'll click on the sound button to see what this guy has to offer. So you want to start by capturing people's attention with your post. Then there's this other trick, and it's called breaking state, and I see you picked that up on your last Facebook Live, and it's breaking state, whether you're starting from a standstill and then you move, or you have something in the foreground of your live. It kind of creates a bit of curiosity along with the post.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to make sure that you said, because you do a pose. I didn't know what it was called, breaking state. You do some pose or some funny thing at the beginning, and I'm like, look, I don't even know. I don't care what I have going on right now. I got to figure out what the next thing is that's going to happen. And I did that in my last one. So in my last video, I sat there like I was reading a book, because you've got like 2 seconds or something before the live actually starts. So I quick pressed the button, and then I was looked like I was reading a book. I was like, oh, hello. And you've done all these fun things with your poses and stuff, and but yeah, otherwise, it looks like usually people are like leaning in real close, trying to like, are their fingers still in the way of the camera, and it creates an awkward starting point.
Yep. And I mean, I've spent money on courses to learn how to Facebook Live better.
Right.
I've spent a little time learning how to interview, how to speak, how to come across, and I'm growing through it. But being prepared was one of them. The other one is here's a little social media hack. If maybe you know it, maybe you don't. But a number one thing not to do before you go Facebook Live is put a post on your page that says, "Hey, I'm going to go live in 5 minutes."
Yeah.
Because it's going to draw away from the algorithm, and there's only so much room. There's only so much room on people's news feed. And would you rather somebody see your post that says, "Hey, I'm going to go live in 5 minutes," or would you rather them just see your live?
I've made that mistake.
I throw it in my story. "Hey, I'm going to go live here in a minute."
Yeah.
And save that page space.
I like that. So maybe you know this or not, but one thing that I tried, and I don't know if it's successful, is creating an event for the live so that there's a notification when I think it may notify an hour beforehand, or maybe there's a way to change the setting. But that's something I've done. I think I've done it each time I've gone live now, but I don't know. Have you thought about something like that? Does that work, or maybe it has the same negative effect by an extra notification?
I've done it 3 or 4 times as an event. I got into the analytics of a little bit, but there was a lot of variables, whether it be the type of guest I have on. The trick is to get people to click the button that they're interested in the first place, and that's a challenge. Mm-hmm. It requires a little more work. If you're on a weekly show, people start to expect it to come up. If you're just getting started and you want to like announce the launch of your Facebook Live show, the event would be an excellent tool to utilize then. But I would say mixed reviews from me personally. Using it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, man. The other thing I want to do is soliciting comments. I mean, is there tricks that you want to share with people around how they can solicit comments? Because comments drive additional engagement from the algorithm standpoint. So do you have any tips there?
Yeah, ask for them.
Yeah, that's it.
Ask for it. People need encouragement to engage. They need ask for likes, ask for shares. It's called, in the marketing world, it's called a call to action. Mm-hmm. Tell your audience what you want them to do, and they're, if they respect you and they appreciate your value, they're more likely to do it. So in any way, shape, or form, you hear a lot of people say, if you're on the replay, drop hashtag replay. Mm-hmm. If you're new, there's all different kinds of ways to boost those comments and boost the engagement. That's not, hey, put your social security number on my Facebook Live. But you're just asking for a like, and if you don't ask, you never know if you'll get it. So ask.
That's a very good point. And then the other one, Ron, bring a friend, right? If you want to go live by yourself, that's great. But what's the benefits of bringing a friend on?
It serves a couple purposes. I think the biggest one would be it helps you relax a little bit because you're not totally dependent on your content or your message to be the only voice inside that live. If it's planned out a little bit, they can pick up the quiet spots or maybe help you if you're stumbling. Mm-hmm. But from a social networking standpoint, basically when you bring somebody on your Facebook Live, they hand you the keys to their friends, essentially. Yes. So now you're in their friends and their friends of friends network, because it's going to throw a notification on their page that they're live with you. And then, you're encouraging people, hey, why is Josh Weesey live with Scott right now? Hey, let me go check it out. Who is this Scott?
Right.
And then now they're going to start seeing my content. They're going to start seeing what I put out. just because I invited you onto my show. So it expands your social network.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's more fun.
It is. For me, I'm an extrovert, which people can probably tell that. So that means that essentially I get energy from others. And the hardest part about me when I do the live videos is the first part where I'm by myself. As soon as the other person comes on, I'm golden. Like before they come on, I start kind of stumbling, and who knows what I say. I go into this black hole of just garble, and I don't even know what it is until I'm waiting for them to be available to come on, and they're sharing out the content a little bit, and once they come on, I'm like, just something lights up inside me, and it makes it a lot easier, and then more people start joining, which I also that excites me too. So I would highly encourage as well, bringing a friend on and making it happen that way. Well, that's good stuff, man. Hey, I got to check in. We are past the hour mark. How are you doing for time?
I am having loads of fun. Let's
Awesome.
keep rolling.
Awesome. I'll breeze through maybe a couple of quick questions here, and then we'll kind of close things out.
Love it.
All right, so main event time. We're going to kind of condense this thing down. This is not unusual for me to kind of get caught in with the flow and blow past some of the normal timing here, but mindset is honestly, that's probably your specialty. We talked a lot about Facebook Live, but your head's in the right space from a mindset standpoint. So what would you say has been a big obstacle for you that you've had to overcome, and what did you learn from overcoming that?
The biggest obstacle, I would say, trying to break into the the snow sledding, backcountry sledding community, the motorsports community like I have. I lacked the time, the money, the freedom to be able to go up and ride 3-4 times a week, to be able to, purchase new gear, to be able to put steady amounts of sledding content out. So I knew if I wanted to reach into, a sponsorship program or an ask to a company, I had to find a way to add value that they would see value in. So the biggest struggle I was like, how am I going to provide that? Not being able to ride like I want to ride, or be able to go to the places I want to go to and do that sort of thing. I just dug into myself, and I'm like, hey, what can I share with share with my community and my audience that's going to provide some value? And I'm like, well, why not share what's taking you there? Share the ship that's going to get you to where you want to go. And that I was diving in really hard into the mindset aspect of it.
What do you think is the key takeaway from overcoming, this whole obstacle about trying to break into the backcountry world and trying to get your content out there?
The key that I see is there's tons of avenues to make an impact in your sponsorship program. Take for instance, maybe you're not on the podium every weekend, but you can find another way to provide value to your sponsors or your community or your audience. And I'm doing that through, sharing my journey with mindset and with personal development and with reaching into where I want to go. Don't feel like just because you don't have, 1,000 hours of insane GoPro footage or, the sick picture every weekend or the first place podium that you can't provide value to somebody's, business to where you could reach out and, ask them for that sponsorship. There's a lot of ways to make an impact in your respective niche or community, and you just got to find it and embrace it.
Yeah, that honestly speaks a lot to where I was at too. I made a decision in 2016 that I wanted to do something in motorsports to where I could have a bigger impact, and I didn't know what it was at all. But I knew there were some things that I wasn't going to be able to do at the time. Because I'd already made some decisions around priority, like, where I want to live at, it restricts access a little bit, and, I do have a full-time job that I like, and I do have a family and stuff, but I was like, gosh, there's still gotta be something. there's got to be something I can do. And then all of a sudden I stumble across this whole podcast thing. I'm like, man, I love motorsports. Like, I love it. I just want to talk more about it. And I love business. I just want to talk more about it. And this thing just kind of happened. So it took some time to figure that out, but I guess it's just another example of, yeah, you don't necessarily have to be that, first place Supercross finisher every year or every race to really make an impact on the business.
Yeah. And you embrace, a lot of people will have that, and I had it too, and I suffered from it, is the limiting beliefs. If you don't know something and you're not okay with starting it because you're scared of not being, good at it when you start.
Mm-hmm.
If you let those limiting beliefs affect you in every aspect, you'll never try anything new. You'll never push your comfort zone, and you'll never go beyond and essentially grow to be better by letting that, hold you back entirely. So, I could have said, okay, I can't ride all the time, so I'm not even going to attempt to reach out to the snowmobile community. I'll stay in my bubble. Right. But that's not me. I couldn't do that. I knew that if I could share my story, share my message, and share my process, that I could hopefully reach out to, one person that maybe be struggling to make the decision to take on a new challenge, try something new, learn something. If I can reach out to that one person and make an impact on them, then this is a whole journey. I can attribute it as a success. And that's really what I try to do with every post I put out is maybe that one person's looking at it and sees it that day. It's like, well, he can do it. Why can't I start?
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly what happened with me. I was like, well, Scott's doing it. Like for the Facebook Live. And I was like, oh, Jake's doing it. And I was like, well, yeah. And now I really don't have any excuses because they just started too. Well, you had been doing it for a while, but it just helped me. It helped me say, let's do this thing.
Love it.
And I'm hoping that by this episode I was talking about this stuff, that there's at least one other person that decides the same thing, which is awesome. Well, one of the things that I guess probably the last real question I want to get into is what's next for you. Now, for people who don't know this, I'm big into understanding people's strengths. One of my strengths is futuristic. I can go into if we could spend a whole week talking about strengths, but one of mine is futuristic. I like to see where things are going, what's happening. I get really excited about that. So what's next for you, man?
Man, just developing my personal brand into something bigger, to where when people, see me, see my name or see my post, it's from they see it as a place of inspiration. They see it as a place of here's somebody that started from nothing and they've got to here, and develop that personal brand to where no matter what challenge, what position, what role I take on, what, companies I partner with, what avenue I focus on, that I'm known, I'm liked, and I'm trusted by everybody I reach out to. So personal branding, ideally I have a bigger vision that I want to take driven to where it's an on the road type of show where, I can travel to a few destinations. I can talk to some people that have, set up their life for success. And I don't just mean in the motorsports industry. This is, it's a bigger picture. It's family, it's business, it's life, and then it's your hobbies, your passions, and your pastimes. Be able to take it on the show, and it's, I can comprise it into a nice vlog or, put out some good quality content. We can go ride in the backcountry. We can, visit their local steakhouse, and it becomes an on the road show basically.
Yeah, right.
And provides value, and not only that, I'll get to experience all kinds of different people in different places. So that's a big goal. That's down the road a ways, but it's something I'd like to do.
Sounds great, man. Well, hey, we're gonna wrap things up at the finish line. So I ask everybody the same question. What's one key takeaway? What's one thing that people ignore everything else in this episode? What's the one thing that they should remember?
Just press play.
That's good, man. I like that. Simple. And I've got a book here that's all about that. So Scott's going to be able to see it, but everybody else isn't going to be able to see it. Lean Startup. It's written by Eric Reese. That goes behind the science, essentially, around what you just said. Just press play. It's all about creating the minimum viable product. Let your customer decide if it's the right thing or not, but don't spend your time perfecting something that's nobody's going to listen to or nobody's going to sell or nobody's going to buy. Just press play and get out there and do it, man. Good stuff. Well, what's the best way for people listening to connect with you, Scott?
Get on my Facebook page. Shoot me a friend request. Reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you, get to know you, get to know your little story, a little bit about your story, and see what you're into and see where you want to go. Anybody that wants help starting a Facebook Live show, if they have questions on who's, how's, what's, whatever, reach out to me. I'm totally willing to help whoever get one going if they're interested in it. My Instagram's at Spero Scott. Facebook is Scott Spero. I'm currently getting ready to launch my e-commerce store, and that'll be under the Facebook page Ride Life Dynamics. That's a personal brand that I'm launching. Kind of I call it the driving force, behind your ride life. And so that'll be coming in about 2 weeks. This is March 22nd, so I should have that page up and going and the store up and going by the time this podcast launches.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited for you. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your experiences. The rodeo thing is awesome. I love that you're able to bring that into the show. Your knowledge around Facebook Live and social media in general, I think that was fantastic. We have not dug that deep in this show before around some of the tips and tricks for social media. I really, really enjoyed that. And just your energy, man. That's ultimately why I wanted you to come on here. You bring a ton of energy, lots of good mindset stuff, and I really, really appreciate it. So at this point, though, I'm going to leave you with this. Have fun and ride safe. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast. Make sure that you subscribe. That way you don't miss any of our upcoming guests. Also, please head over to iTunes. Leave a rating and review. That would be phenomenal. If you have questions or guest recommendations, shoot me an email, podcast@impactfuel.org. To get insider access to upcoming guests, go ahead and check out the Sponsored Rider Club on Facebook. And check out our other social media sites, including Instagram, Twitter, and obviously Facebook. But the Facebook page, the Sponsored Rider Club Facebook page, is where we go live. So our next live session is April 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern, featuring Sarah Price. She was also on episode 12. Going to be phenomenal. So make sure you check that out. But if you're on the Facebook page and you're following us, you'll be able to get some live notifications. I look forward to serving you again next week. But until then, have fun and ride safe.